What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our top remaining NFL free agents post-2022 draft. All that and much more coming your way right now. All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, with the NFL draft officially over, we have to take a look at the best remaining NFL free agents. We're going to go through them, just the top 5 or 6, and kind of see what players are still available and where their best landing spots would be. I want to start off here with Odell Beckham Jr. Obviously, Odell dealing with that torn ACL that he suffered back in the Super Bowl. The man showed he can play. He left Cleveland and it felt like the man was back to his old big blue New York Giants days, fully rejuvenated. He was balling out. I think there's plenty of teams that could utilize him as a wide receiver 1A/2. Nick, where do you see Odell Beckham Jr. landing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that could use the services of Odell Beckham Jr., but I don't think that Odell is really looking for a team that's going to make him that wide receiver one. I think he's looking to go back to a team that he had a lot of success with in a short amount of time. The Los Angeles Rams. To me, the Los Angeles Rams were 3 deep last year, and he would be that third wide receiver on the depth chart to complete that trio. And I think with him and Matthew Stafford, they had some magic there last year. And going into that Super Bowl, it looked like OBJ was going to be the target for Matthew Stafford. To me, he wants to continue that magic, and he wants another shot at a ring, this time playing throughout the Super Bowl. And I think his best shot's going to be in Los Angeles with that team. He's already got that chemistry. He already knows the system. Why not just run it back another time? I just don't think he's going to go into another ball club and be able to have that chemistry with another quarterback, even if he is guaranteed to be that wide receiver 1 or 2 and have more time on the field. He has had some injuries in his career, and with being the wide receiver 3 on the Los Angeles Rams, this gives him that reprieve while also having the connection with the quarterback. I think it's really a match made in heaven for him to have a truly successful end to his career.
I like OBJ to the Rams a lot. I think it makes a ton of sense. You add Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson to OBJ, they quite literally would have the best wide receiving core in the NFL, and it wouldn't be close. I think that the Rams make most sense. I think you have to throw in a team that's always been rumored around him too, the New England Patriots. Even as Patriots fans, I'm kind of over the fact that OBJ could be coming to the team. I would love him in Patriots red, white, and blue, but I understand that we're not in the same situation as the Rams are. They can compete now. He's kind of toward the end of his peak. He's got to compete now. I fully expect him to be a Los Angeles Ram come the start of the 2022 NFL season. Another player I want to get to, though, we have to talk about Julio Jones, the big-time wide receiver who went from Atlanta to Tennessee last year. I think that he still has a lot of potential. Did not work out in the system opposite A.J. Brown, mostly due to the injuries that he suffered in Tennessee. Nick, do you think that there's still a spot for Julio Jones in the NFL?
There is a big glaring spot for Julio Jones in the NFL, and that's with his former quarterback, Matt Ryan, in Indianapolis. When you look at the wide receiver core for the Colts, they have Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell, but they need to get another big wide receiver for Matt Ryan to throw to if this is going to be a big offense. They've got Jonathan Taylor that's really holding them down, but you don't know if he can be that guy once again. A lot of tape is there on Jonathan Taylor, and a lot of teams are going to learn from that tape going to next season. You don't know if he's like Derrick Henry and will be able to continue this year over year. So you're going to have a big wide receiver core that's going to be able to work with Matt Ryan in his first year. And why not get a familiar face like Julio Jones that has the chemistry with Matt Ryan? That is a big thing that cannot go unnoticed. Just like I talked about earlier, it is something that would go a long way for the Indianapolis Colts. And this is a team with a veteran quarterback. Once again, they're looking to try and compete in the AFC right now, and they need to get somebody that's going to work well with their new quarterback.
I like Julio Jones to the Indianapolis Colts. I think it makes a lot of sense to pair up with Matt Ryan. I could also see him possibly going back to Atlanta. I understand that it's not the same situation he was previously in, but with Arthur Smith there and this offense with Drake London, he doesn't have to be a wide receiver one. He can work off of Kyle Pitts as well. I think going back to the place where it all started would make a lot of sense. Julio Jones is definitely toward the end of his career. He is not the same productive wide receiver one that we're used to. So I fully expect him to be a wide receiver 2 or even 3 on a depth chart. He's going to have to fight for a spot on a team. And honestly, it could be the Colts. It could be no team unless there's a major injury. So we're going to have to watch out for that one. The next player I want to talk about had another revitalized year last year, and that being Jadeveon Clowney, the big defensive end with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously worked very well opposite Myles Garrett. When J.J. Watt was no longer next to him, Jadeveon Clowney struggled. When he left, he did not have the same performance. And then when you see him go to Cleveland, he has Myles Garrett. He is not the sole guy that people can focus on, and he gets one-on-one matchups. Nick, I think Jadeveon Clowney has a lot of suitors. Where is the top spot you have?
Jadeveon Clowney should have a lot of suitors because he was very productive last year and showed that he still has that ability. But for him to have that success, to me, he's got to return to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are where he found that success. He did not find that success in Seattle. He did not find that success after J.J. Watt left, like you mentioned. So why not go back to the place where they have the cast from last year and he can play with the guys he knows how to work with in that system? It just makes most sense. And this is a team with Deshaun Watson now that should make a lot of improvements on the offensive side of the ball. He can help them on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that's where his best landing spot would be.
I like Cleveland a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to throw another one out there. We talked a lot about J.J. Watt. Well, how about the Arizona Cardinals? I think pairing these two guys back up on the defensive line, working on that defense with the incredible athletes that they have behind them in Isaiah Simmons and some of these other guys, I fully expect the Arizona Cardinals to be in a competitive situation this year. And that starts with getting players like Jadeveon Clowney who can go after opposing quarterbacks like Drew Lock and Jimmy Garoppolo in your own division. I fully expect that the Arizona Cardinals want a guy like Clowney. I think they just have to go out, pony up, and get him because he is coming off a productive year. Another guy I want to talk about here is Jarvis Landry, another Cleveland Brown who, he struggled. He was up and down. Definitely not the same production we saw back with the Miami Dolphins. I think Jarvis Landry definitely has a lot more to give. Nick, what are your thoughts on Landry landing somewhere in the NFL?
Yeah, Jarvis Landry should have a couple of suitors because he is still one of the best short-handed catchers and one of the better route runners in the NFL. He's had his injuries lately, but he can get past that. And one team I'm looking at directly is the Baltimore Ravens, right in that division. They just went and traded Hollywood Brown to the Arizona Cardinals, and they have a big glaring hole at that wide receiver position with Rashad Bateman as the soon-to-be wide receiver 1. I think they need to get a veteran presence in there to help these young wide receivers out if they're going to develop into the next wide receivers for the Baltimore Ravens. Jarvis Landry would help Lamar Jackson in those tough situations where he needs to get first downs or he needs to get that crucial catch. Jarvis Landry has been in those situations many times and he's come out on top, and he can get back to that level with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that would be a great landing spot for him.
If Jarvis is looking to be a wide receiver 1 on a team that can possibly compete, that makes sense. If he's looking for the best suitor for him to be able to win, he needs to go back to Cleveland. Being the number 2 to Amari Cooper, working with Deshaun Watson in that offense, we suppose that Deshaun Watson will be playing. He's neither here nor there at this point. I believe that he has to go back to the offense that he knows. He understands what Kevin Stefanski is looking for in this offense, and Jarvis Landry is just one of those guys that can be a plug-and-play wide receiver, a short-handed catcher, opposite Amari Cooper, who can take the top off the defense. I think that they would have a perfect symbiotic relationship to be able to work off of each other. I think the Cleveland Browns would be very beneficial to Jarvis Landry and vice versa. Another wide receiver on this list, Will Fuller. Nick, where do you think Will Fuller could end up?
Yeah, Will Fuller's an intriguing guy. A lot of people had him going to the Cleveland Browns to reunite with Deshaun Watson, but to me, there is another team that could use use his services even more, that being the Arizona Cardinals. With DeAndre Hopkins about to be suspended for the first 6 games, this team needs to get another wide receiver in there that can help them out. And Hollywood Brown is a nice add, but to me, he's really just filling in for Christian Kirk. They need to get another big, deep wide receiver that can stretch the field, and that is Will Fuller. When this guy is healthy, he's a great talent, and for Kyler Murray, he needs as much great talent as he can get if he's truly going to fulfill the Cardinals' role as franchise quarterback. So I think Will Fuller could really help out the Arizona Cardinals, especially during that 6-week time of need.
Definitely in the 6 weeks, I understand, but also remember, he played with DeAndre Hopkins in Houston. So reuniting these 1-2 combinations and then also adding Hollywood Brown to it, we already talked about Odell going to the Rams as possibly being a 1-2-3 combination for the ages. You're talking about D-Hop, Will Fuller, and Hollywood Brown. They're going to compete with that as well in the same division. So I think that you have to take a hard look at possibly adding him to the Arizona Cardinals. I would love that move for them. I think that there's a couple other teams that could really utilize the services, but none better than the Arizona Cardinals. All right, and our last player that I want to discuss here, big-time defensive tackle. Nick, one of your favorite players as well, Akeem Hicks, the 32-year-old D-tackle who can rush the passer, stop the run. This guy is a man amongst boys when he is out on the field. Tell me where you think Akeem Hicks would be most beneficial in the NFL.
Akeem Hicks, in the latter stage of his career, he's looking to win, and I think a team like the Denver Broncos would be a great suitor for Akeem Hicks. When the Denver Broncos traded Shelby Harris with a package of other players and draft picks for Russell Wilson, that was a big loss to that defensive line, and Akeem Hicks would be a great replacement for Shelby Harris. Having that ability to help with the run as a defensive tackle or rush the edge as a defensive end, he's a very versatile guy, and even at his age, he is still very productive when he's healthy. So if this guy is given a chance, I think that he could really help the Denver Broncos make great strides as Russell Wilson starts to learn this team, and in a very competitive division that's going to be tough to come out on top of.
I think another place that we have to think of when you think of winning now, we have to think about some of his former teammates, and that includes Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay. They are missing Ndamukong Suh, obviously still a free agent himself, but Akeem Hicks would be an upgrade over Ndamukong Suh in what he can do both in the run and pass game. Suh was only possible in the passing game. I think this guy could be a 4-down defensive tackle for this team and really help them solidify the middle of this defense. They were susceptible to the run at times. They were not heavy on the quarterback pressures a lot. I think he can fill that void with JPP and Devin White behind him. I really like what he would be able to bring to this defense, but nonetheless, Akeem Hicks definitely still has a place at 32 years of age. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below where you want to see these top free agents end up, and let us know in the comments down below if you want us to continue with this list and do more free agents. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.